Welcome back to another opportunity to learn, grow, and evolve, uncovering more and more of that light, that core power that we have within all of us. Today, I am joined by a good friend that I met back in 2019, a Nike-sponsored athlete, world traveler, a phenomenal yoga teacher, and a man of many talents that we'll get into today.
Thank you for that
super
kind intro. It's an honor to be here, and I'm glad we caught each other here in Pueblo, Mexico.
I know, just like aligned for a day, so we had to take advantage of making a video.
Of course.
Yeah, so I know that you're known for the yoga and you're known for traveling, but what I really want to dive into today with you is like all these extracurricular activities that you find your self-expression in. Yeah. I know you've been getting into music more.
Yep.
He's got Landrell on the Sunday Vinyasa this week. Ooh. I know you've been holding the freediving courses. Yep. You have 2 coming up in March.
Yes, sir.
I might have to just drop into one of those.
You're pretty close. You might have to.
Yeah, and obviously, if anybody checks out Jonah's Instagram, the photography has always been... Actually, the reason that I have this camera right now is because you told me to get a Sony A7 too.
No way.
Yeah.
That's... Damn, planting seeds.
Yeah, planting seeds. So, I mean, really drop into whatever's like really hitting for you. What are you interested in, excited to share?
I'm just super excited to be here right now because I wanted a platform to speak on. I feel like a lot of the podcasts that I do, end up going into yoga and talking about, the family and and I think it's just cool to be able to focus on some current events and some things I'm passionate about outside of yoga. And maybe we'll come full circle to see how yoga really, comes through everything that you do. And it's more so a lifestyle and a practice versus a physical exercise routine. And I think that's the more and more I practice, the more it kind of impermeates everything else in my life. Right. And, brings in that quality of yoga.
Yeah, we were talking on the podcast a few sessions ago with Carlita, who we're here with at Casa Atma, about bringing the Ashtanga practice off the mat and into life.
Sure.
And using those principles to really navigate and make good decisions in life and show up to life consciously instead of just on autopilot.
Exactly. Yeah, yoga's like that really cool middle ground. It's not quite real life, but you can practice all these qualities on your mat where, you get to experiment a little bit. And then eventually you practice it, you get so good and it becomes subconscious on your mat that, it walks into everything else you do in your life. Like when you walk your dog or you take photos or you free dive or whatever it may be. Your breath is there, the awareness is there, and these qualities come through. Yoga is really not even the name of an exercise. It's a quality that we all have inside each and every one of us and that we can bring into our lives. So I'd love to kind of jump right into freediving. I think that's kind of the...
How long have you been doing freediving for?
Freediving, I started... My first ever experience with freediving was 3 years ago. Okay. And it didn't even start with freediving, which is the weird thing. I was in Tulum, Mexico. Okay. And I was just taking a morning silent walk by myself down the beach, right by Papaya Playa Project, if you're familiar with Tulum.
Hey, shout out.
And I was walking down the beach, and I ran into a friend, and I'm like, hey, what are you up to? And she's like, oh, I'm actually going to this breathwork class. Of course, classic Tulum. Someone's always going to a breathwork class. And I wasn't really even in the mood, but for some reason, I was just feeling spontaneous, so I walked right in, you know. And there was this guy sharing the class, and long story short, it was phenomenal. A lot of breakthroughs. It was only 30-minute class. And after the end of the breathwork class, and keep in mind, I've done a lot of different pranayamas over the years. This was by far the most profound I've ever done. After the breathwork class was over, he had everybody jump into the pool. Okay. And we would support each other. So
did you have any idea that this was about to happen, or you
zero.
Just thought
He's like, everyone get in the pool. I didn't even bring a bathing suit. Okay. I went in my underwear.
Yeah. So you just showed up spontaneous and open-minded.
Exactly. I was ready for anything.
Bringing yoga off the mat, open-minded.
You never know what you're in training for,
That's true. That's true.
So I jumped into the pool and we partnered up, and essentially we'd lay on our back in the water, kind of like in a floating position. Okay. And the person supporting you would have one hand under your legs and one hand on your back. Okay. And your head would kind of like be supported by the water. Okay. And we do deep breathing for about 2 minutes, and then we do a breath hold. And by the time it was ready for our breath hold, the partner would flip us over and support us from underneath. So our head would be in the water. Okay. And I held my breath for 3 minutes.
And you mentioned earlier, we were talking about this a little bit, that you are going to hold an exhale or you're going to hold an inhale depending on what your intention was.
Yeah.
So for this
that was
case,
all like, that was stuff I learned way later.
Okay.
So for this specific case, essentially I just surprised myself because I think the last time I tried to hold my breath, I may have gotten to a minute.
Yeah.
But I never really prepared myself to go this deep and to just trust that I was going to be okay, even if it was difficult and, I was in this like uncompromising situation.
Right.
Because, you can panic when you're holding your breath, especially in water. It can be kind of traumatizing.
Yeah.
But with Roto, my teacher's guidance, we were really prepared for what we were getting into. And this kind of just went down a whole rabbit hole. It was such an enlightening experience. The next day, he's like, we're going cave diving. And I'm like, I'm in. Whatever you're doing, sign me up. Cave diving, no problem.
Yeah.
So the next morning, he picks me up, and there's a few other guys in the car, and we go to the cenote, Casa Cenote, and we do a little breathwork circle. We get primed up, some sweet breathing exercises.
I'm curious to hear more about the breathing exercises.
Yeah, so, a lot of yoga-related breathing. I mean, everything's taken from yoga, right? It's, but he kind of made it his own. Like even Wim Hof. Wim Hof stole everything from yoga. Right. Wim Hof's amazing. He's my hero.
Yo, I'm going to have him on the show. There's going to be some beef here.
But yeah, a lot of Antara Kumbhaka, so inhale retention holds, exhale retention holds, which I'll kind of get into more detail in a second.
Okay.
A lot of Bhastrika breathing, so more quick, forceful, active exhalations.
Yeah.
Just kind of priming the breath. We not necessarily hyperventilation, but there's also a technique called box breathing, where you're just slowing the breath.
4
down.
in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold.
Yeah, exactly. And then you repeatedly go higher. So after a few rounds, you go to 5, 5, 5.
When you're building again that capacity.
Yeah, you're just increasing the lung capacity, increasing your CO2 tolerance, and a lot of things like that.
We've talked a little bit about breath work on the channel, and we've been doing it also. Mimi Wild Salt has been facilitating that in the Sunday morning meditations now, but how breath plays such a large part, and also just having clarity and having space between you and all the stimuli that's going on around you, right? So it's like, don't panic, breathe first, because then you have the prefrontal cortex come back online. It's like, breath is the most wild tool, and it's so overlooked because
it's the most underrated thing. I always tell people it's impossible to take a deep breath and freak out at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but basically, yeah. So after this cave diving experience, I was just hooked because not only was I swimming in a beautiful destination, I was challenging myself. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. Things would come up in the diaphragm, and things would kind of come up to the surface, and even spiritually, just moving into the unknown, literally.
It's its own sadhana, for
you
sure.
You see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's like this enlightening experience. So that pretty much hooked me, and I realized it was making my yoga practice a lot stronger. And I came to this kind of metaphorical lesson that sometimes the best way to find your breath is to lose it first. Anyone that has difficulty, even try it if you're listening, if
the contrast.
If you're meditating and your breath is, just hard to stay with, it feels abstract, try holding your breath for, a period of time and then come back. That first inhale you take is going to be so
and you're going to be very aware of
present.
It. Yeah. It's like not having water for a really long time, and then you have it and you're like, wow.
It's like fasting
so
and then
hydrating.
having a delicious meal like that sweet quinoa. You just appreciate it so much more.
You never thought it could taste that good. Yeah, for real. So that contrast.
Yeah, and then after that, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to get more into the science aspect, so I actually took a training. It was a 4-day immersive style training through Molchanov, which is a Russian style.
Okay.
Alexei Molchanov's the #1 freediver in the world. He's been, I think, up to 120 meters, maybe a little less. I'm not sure, but he's incredible.
Is that how deep Dubai goes?
No, deep dive Dubai only goes about 60 meters.
Wow, and
still,
that looks
most people
super
can't get
deep.
to the bottom of that.
Okay.
So
he's like really on another level.
He's on a different planet.
And is this also in Tulum, this training, or did you have to fly elsewhere?
No,
to do
this was in Tulum. So he has certified trainers all over the world.
Okay.
And my coach Matt, he's from France originally, and then he lived in Canada most of his life. He has some records in Canada. He's incredible. He kind of helped take me to my limits and really give me like the means and the why.
Yeah.
Because if you understand the science behind it, it's a lot easier to put yourself through something that's difficult. It's like
that's like when I was going through anxiety back in 2014, which is where this channel blossomed from. I learned one very important thing is that if you're afraid of something, research it and understand it more. And it's like you're shining a light on the corner of the room, right? And it's like what you thought was this huge thing is actually just like this little thing that was blown up either by a shadow or by just the incessant thinking of the mind.
Wow. I love that. That's a great lesson.
Yeah.
Usually what we're afraid of is coming from a place of maybe ignorance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just out of fear, right?
Yeah. I always, one of my teachers always said, whatever you're looking for is on the other side of fear.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And freediving is just another way to face that.
Yeah.
And to face yourself.
Yeah.
Because a lot of shit comes up when you're contracting from your diaphragm and you're swallowing you're getting that strong urge to breathe. You know, you have to almost force you're being forced. In a way to stay relaxed. Because if you don't,
you're fucked. Yeah,
it's not good.
Yeah,
you'll get in trouble. So,
and you're in open water. This isn't like, I know you've been in pools. That's where you learn and everything. But it's not just the fact of being in a cave. It's also like you don't know what else is also in that water too.
There's no sharks in the cenote, so I mean,
right. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
might be some snakes
there's variables. It's like an underground obstacle course.
Right.
So there's like, you got to be careful. You got to be aware of your surroundings internally, externally. You know, your proprioception is just lit up. You know, that's your body awareness through space.
Yeah. What is it called? Probial awareness?
Proprioception.
Proprioception.
Yeah,
okay, it's a whole nother level of self-awareness.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's your inner and outer awareness.
Okay.
But yeah, so that kind of translated into my yoga practice, and then now 2 or 3 years later, after I started to develop a lot of confidence, in myself and freediving, I started to take small groups out in the forms of retreats, where I kind of just mix and mash yoga and freediving because they're so parallel.
So how has it? I don't mean to interrupt you, but how has the freediving, like, what specific parts of freediving have complemented your yoga practice?
Yeah, so great question. The breath, of course, is the number one thing.
Okay.
Just being able to control the breath, the preparation before the dive, the relaxation, the meditation. Before every dive, especially on the line when you're going for depth, you need to put yourself in the most relaxed place you've ever been.
Because the thoughts also, and you realize this when you have anxiety, if you have these intrusive thoughts running, it's like you exhaust yourself ASAP, but we don't realize how quickly just thoughts can consume your energy.
Oh, for sure. These freedivers, like Alexei Molchanov, can bring himself to the deepest meditation in a matter of seconds. So this guy's like a yogi, and he doesn't even, I'm sure he knows it. But these guys are on a different level. The way they can just drop in and just be completely still and relax every single muscle in their entire body within seconds, it's incredible. So I've really just admired these guys, and I think that if they practice yoga, they'd see the benefits as well, both sides. But breath, mentality, focus, I would say on a physical level, your lung capacity, your ability to breathe, your flexibility. We do a lot in freediving. We do a lot of different stretches. So we'll do like an inhale. We'll fill up the lungs, and I'll put the hands over it, and then we'll do stretches.
Just to open up the capacity of the body.
Yeah, so these freedivers, their rib cage is super flexible because when you're going deep, after about, I would say, 15 meters, the pressure builds
so strong
and literally crushes you. So you need to be, what's the word for it? You need to be malleable. To some degree.
Yeah.
And that's
adjustable.
That's what flexibility is, and that's what yoga teaches you is, there's that famous quote that my father always says is, strength without flexibility leaves you with rigidity. You can't be stiff underwater, especially when the pressure's just coming in on you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
working for mobility is an entirely different level of satisfaction.
These guys' rib cage are like, you can press it and it's soft.
Yeah.
It's like it can move.
Yeah.
I can show you some breath work maybe at the end where you can see how the belly kind of comes in, and the way they shape their torsos is.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's phenomenal.
Some little take-home tools.
Yeah, so we'll stay and watch till the end.
Yeah. So if you guys want to see a little bit of Jonah doing this freediving, this is a phenomenal segue if I do say so myself. His photography of his freediving is on his Instagram.
Oof, great.
And that photography, I think I might need to get some take-home tools for how to do the underwater photography, because those have been so stellar with the streams of light coming down also.
Yeah, the Yucatan Peninsula has to be one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth, in my opinion.
You've been going there your whole life, right?
My father's been doing retreats and practicing yoga in Tulum since I was in the womb, essentially, even before that. And Tulum's kind of become this hot spot destination now. But yeah, the photography aspect has kind of always been this natural collaboration type effort where it was just another way for me to express my creativity. And then the underwater thing was kind of new. I actually don't take the photos personally. I have, but I've collaborated with other photographers.
Right, the ones of you, I would assume that you don't have like a floating camera.
That would be impressive.
A drone underwater.
Yeah.
Hey.
But it's from working with photographers, if you take it way back 4 years ago, is where I decided, hey, you know what, like, it's getting kind of expensive to do all these photo shoots. I mean, a lot of them were on collaboration, but before, I had a Instagram following, nobody wanted to do it for free.
Yeah.
So I had to sometimes pay for shoots, especially with photographers that I really liked. I saw a vision with them. So then I was like, you know what, this is getting ridiculous. And I kind of liked the whole process. I liked editing, and I liked, so I
and you showed me a bit of it too. Like, I think my original introduction to Lightroom, we were sitting in New York.
Oh yeah,
going through it, like just for like 20 minutes.
That was fun, man. Yeah. It's a meditative process, just like the freediving and the yoga, and even being in the field and shooting and like seeing a frame and being present and taking the shots, kind of like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Oh my gosh, I think I was 18 when it came out. That inspired my whole trip that I ended up meeting you on in Indonesia.
No way.
I watched that movie by myself in the theaters at least 3 or 4 times. No exaggeration.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Easy.
Where he's at that last scene where he sees the white
leopard.
The white leopard, and then he decides not even to take the photo.
Yeah.
That's deep, bro.
Symbolic. Wow. So that's a really good spot where you also weave the yoga in, right? Because you've been learning these practices of how to come to the different ways that you express yourself with clarity, with creativity, with actually being conscious in the practice instead of reacting to whatever the challenges are being thrown at you, whether it be free diving or photography.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, the photography kind of has evolved, like everything. Like, you learn so much. It's like the more you climb up a volcano or a mountain, the more you can see around you. So it's like, I just remember even from editing techniques have changed so much, from maybe overcompensating to like really trying to bring the saturation slider all the way up to now kind of like muting it and making it a little bit more realistic. Nowadays, if I'm really being honest, if anyone cares about how I edit photos,
hey, I care. If nobody else cares, I care.
This is kind of nuanced, but I barely touch my photos anymore.
Yeah,
I'll put like a little correction.
Keep them extremely natural.
And and it's just interesting how the more I would say you get closer to mastery, the less you actually have to do in a weird way, if that makes sense.
Well, it's like my belief growing up is that you have to go out and try and manipulate what you're doing and work with what you're doing so much, because that's what masters do, at least in my head. And then you start to realize that it's actually like simplicity is the rule. You know what I mean?
Simplicity is key, and less is more. And
yeah, exactly.
And I'm so far from being a master when it comes to photos, but these are words from a lot of my mentors in photography, like Josiah and Short Stash.
Josiah cracks me up with his photography.
He's awesome, man. And Emmett Sparling. These are some of these guys that I've really taken a lot from, whether they know it or not, and I've implemented it. And I think one of the cool things about remixing and collaboration is I've been able to kind of sort of stand out in the photography community, even though my technical skills and editing isn't even close to some of these guys. But it's the fact, and this is kind of a good transition, talking about the subject. The subject makes a photo. A lot of these professional photographers, they'll put a little tiny person in a landscape photo to give it scale. And that little tiny person, if they're doing a yoga pose, then the whole composition becomes that much more interesting. So I was able to kind of separate myself and be like a niche, page, mixing yoga and photography. And then it became this really cool form of self-expression where I couldn't just throw in any pose in any destination. If there's a waterfall, it had to meet the lines, and there was always an angle.
Rule of thirds, leading lines, put it all together. Yeah.
And sometimes you think you have it all, and it just doesn't look right. You can't really put your finger on why it doesn't look right, but it's trial and error. It's trial and error, and I just love that process. I love waking up early. The better the shot, the harder it was to get. Yeah. There's so many variables. There's light. There's time of the day. You have to make sure there's no people there. You can't. I don't care how good at Photoshop you are. You can't take out 100 people.
It's true. It's a very good flow state exercise.
It is. I'm like in the moment, especially when I'm with some of my friends, who are other creators, and they're just like, boom, 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 go do this, boom. We only have this much time left, and you're just like so present.
It's like you're flying a 737, you have to put all these little pieces together to make the puzzle come together. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's that other side of it, which I'd like to touch on, and, it's not all perfect. Is like, there's a little curse too, it's like, when do you put the camera away? When do you just look at the sunset and not take the photo? Like
how do you actually navigate that challenge, right? Because you're traveling a lot.
A lot of people would tell you maybe that I wasn't necessarily present with on certain trips, and I'm not going to say I've been perfect. I definitely is something I've grown a lot from, and just being more mature and more selective with when I'm shooting. So nowadays I won't even take my camera out of the bag unless I know it's like exactly what I want. And then I'll just try to, just enjoy the moment more.
Right. Which comes with time, right? Because like you'll have the ability to know exactly what you want to shoot, whereas before you're probably shooting 10 times more than you had to just to find those 2 pictures that you liked.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and it just cuts everything down. So
I think what we need to do is we need to get Josiah to film another underwater, like, I don't even know what to call it. That art piece was incredible.
He's actually putting another one out.
He is? Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know if he's going to get pissed for saying that on the podcast, but
he's chilling.
But I think that we need to get Josiah to include some Jonah Kest in the like underwater yoga class.
Definitely. No, we're supposed to. So if you don't know Josiah, he's a great underwater photographer. Josiah WG is his Instagram handle.
Also, fantastic online personality.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were supposed to go on a trip actually to Canada. I'm still going. I'm going freediving. I found these crazy guys that cut holes in ice and they put wetsuits on, but they freedive under the ice.
Wow.
So it's like you have now all the extremes of freediving and then add cold and temperature to it. And fear, because the only way back out is through that little hole that they cut.
Right, exactly. So, it's like some Wim Hof stuff.
Don't tell. I hope my mom's not watching this because she doesn't know I'm doing it. But of course, I'm going to be. We have 2 safety divers.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They might even tie a leash to me. We'll see. These guys are pros, so I'll leave it to their hands. But I'm excited for that trip that's coming up next week.
And Josiah's coming with you.
He was supposed to, but
he's not
had another interfering trip. So
that's going to be quite the test of all the principles that you've been learning.
Right?
Yeah.
Free diving, ice, ice baths. It's kind of like yoga. It's all in one.
Yeah.
Take your passions and mix them all together.
And you've done that. You've done that extremely well. How are you mixing like all of these different environments, right? Because you're going from one environment that's radical to another environment, right? So how do you keep up mentally with the traveling and
like
what
how
structures?
I pack my suitcase, or what do you mean?
No, let me put it this way: like, how do you stay centered amongst all of the travel, right? Because there's a lot of moving parts as you travel, catching different flights. You're in new cultures. You're eating different foods. You're in different time zones. How do you remain? And this could also be extracted for like the everyday person who's not traveling nearly as much, right?
It's hard, man. It's you ask amazing questions, by the way.
Yeah,
it's really
an
effortless flow of conversation.
Personal curiosity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's why it feels so genuine. It's been tough. Like, it's so tempting not to stand in line at the Burger King and order a veggie burger. When it's like 10 o'clock at night and you're on a layover, and balance is like, we talk about balance, but if you see me at Burger King, don't judge me. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, listen, we're still human at the end of the day.
If you're a yogi, you better not judge me. But
bad karma.
I've eaten a lot of fast food in my day, and I found all the ways to eat vegan at fast food restaurants. So if you want to,
it's much easier today.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But I don't condone that, and I've gotten a lot better at fasting, and I would say the number one tip for me going to so many different destinations and traveling and somewhat staying grounded is just doing it in spurts. So one of my favorite quotes: "Life shouldn't be a marathon, but rather a short series of sprints."
Ooh, wow. Because you always hear the opposite.
Yeah, because, a marathon runner is, can sometimes, marathon runners are incredible. Don't want to put them down, but can sometimes be on the skinnier side. And I'm just speaking of body type.
Right.
They're kind of gaunt. They need to be in order to sustain for that long.
Right.
And have you ever looked at a sprinter's body? What's the difference?
Totally different.
Jacked.
A lot more
muscular
muscle.
product.
Yeah.
So, when you look at your life, it's like, I want to come at everything with muscle and prana. I want my life to be a short series of sprints with intermediate times of downtime. So that being said, every few weeks, let's say I'm on like a trip, I'll come home to Michigan where my family is and check in, eat my mom's homemade meals. Get on a solid sleep schedule.
That's a really nice grounding experience too.
You're and like come to places like this, Casa Atma, and eat nourishing foods and be around community and family and friends, people that you love. That's really, really important
grounding.
for me.
Yeah. And I'm sure the practice plays a role there as well.
Yeah, the yoga practice, ebbs and flows. It sometimes it evolves. Sometimes you're in your hotel room just trying to squeeze into a little corner.
Yeah.
Other times it's just you getting in a 5-minute meditation. You got to be realistic. But of course, when you can get that full Ashtanga primary series, there's nothing better. Hey. And you've been doing that for
I have been. That was
2
like
months?
1 month right now, but that's similar to how you came across freediving, right? I had no intentions of learning Ashtanga yoga. I really didn't. And then Grant invited me to come to Casa Atma, and here I am, basically Sharath at this point. Ashtanga has been like a blessing, right? Because I am diving into a little bit of astrology that we talked about with Grant on the last podcast.
Can't wait to listen to that one, by the way.
Oh, man. Stellar. Listen, Cacao Ceremonial is very talented individual.
Love that guy.
But I have Capricorn in my astrology chart, and I love structure. And having like the very like masculine structure of you're doing the same exact poses time after time, it's so nice to just be able to click into that flow, not have to worry about like trying to create my own yoga flow, and just coming back to the breath, right? And it's all about coming back to the breath. And we talked, like, I have been practicing Anapana. It's very similar, of just having exactly what you're coming to, and it's simple.
Wow. Well said, man. Yeah. Anapana, just breath, mindfulness of the breath, meditation. Yeah. Meditation doesn't have to be so complicated, does it?
It doesn't.
You just have to observe your breath,
It does. It really, it's like, there's a sign over here, and it says something along the lines of, life is so simple, and yet our mind likes to make it so complicated. And it's like, let yourself go for a minute.
It's you were just reminding me. There's a quote. I can't remember who said it, but it says, meditation is a simple practice for complicated people.
That's going to be your bio, I think. We should put that as your bio.
It's true, man.
It's very true.
It just creates space. And I know a lot of people, someone the other day came up to me, or it was a friend, I can't remember exactly when and where, but they said, I meditated, but I didn't really get anywhere. It was kind of like my mind was racing the whole time. I felt like it was a waste of time. Yeah. I didn't really feel like I got any benefit. And when in reality, what they don't know is they did get benefit.
It's just like this much,
Yeah, it's
like time after
maybe
time
even
after
more
time.
than that. Because like when you sit, even if your mind's racing the whole time, you're not going to be the Buddha on your first try.
No.
And when your mind's racing and you're still staying with your breath and you're observing the racing thoughts, what you're doing is putting all those thoughts into different filing cabinets. And you might come up with a memory.
That's a great visual.
Or a task that you had to get to.
Yeah.
It's just a really good way to organize your mind.
Yeah.
And not to mention, let's say you sat for 10-15 minutes. That was 10 or 15 minutes more than you normally would go without being on your phone.
And dedicated time to yourself. Yeah.
That was 10 to 15 minutes where you didn't tell a lie.
Yeah.
Or you didn't gossip.
Yeah, or eat shit food.
Or eat any. Yeah. So it's like just by sitting in stillness, there's benefit. And I think that's a really important thing for someone who's new to meditation to really come at from that perspective. Because you can't fail.
I literally just made a video yesterday all about like the past 6.5 years that I've been meditating and the benefits that I've recognized.
Congratulations on that. 7 years now?
It'll be 7 years, June 6th. Yeah. 7-year cycle. I'm very excited about it.
Leading the way.
Yeah, but I didn't even think to factor in the contrast, right? Like the contrast of by doing this, you're not doing that, and that's really powerful, right? And if you do just 10 minutes a day, like you're building a practice with yourself.
Like our meditation this morning was so pure, so sweet, man.
It was very nice. Yeah.
That was a nice long one too. I felt like that was upwards of almost 30 minutes.
It was actually like, it was like 30-40 minutes, something like that. Yeah, I usually do 20 minutes every morning, 20 minutes every afternoon.
We're just all so tapped in that it just went longer.
Yeah, exactly. And you led us through a nice metta meditation at the end. But before we run out of time here, and speaking of meditations, you hold a Sunday Vinyasa. Yep. Right? And in the Sunday Vinyasa, you typically like to have all these talented artists come on. So
comes back to that collaboration.
It does. And right, yeah, exactly. Like just co-creating with people around you who are talented, and you get to tap into all these different ways of thinking and perspectives. And really just artistic abilities.
Yeah.
But I don't bring that up with Landrell just because Landrell is dope and he has great music. And if you don't know who he is, just type Landrell in Spotify.
Londrelle.
Exactly, yeah. But you have also been really diving into music. And even when I met you in 2019, like your freestyle, and this goes back to photography, this goes back to freediving, this goes back to yoga, right? It's all a matter of getting into a state of mind where you can allow your actual, like that internal knowing or intuition to flow without any obstacle, right?
Wow, well said. Yeah.
And so how has your journey led you to music? And as a result, what benefits have you seen music play a part in your own life? And you can check Jonah out on Spotify, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, incredible questions. That's like almost 2 parts that I can answer. I wish my really good friend Mike Warren was here to answer the part on the freestyle, because he's pretty much a master freestyler.
Okay.
And he goes into the whole flow state and how when you freestyle, you shut off a certain part of your brain and you're completely just tapped in with your subconscious mind, and you're just letting things kind of come out. Because if you're thinking it all in a freestyle, it's done.
It's not going to work.
And it's truly a form of letting go. Because if you have any kind of insecurity or any kind of hesitation, it's not going to work. But as far as music goes, we used to always freestyle as a kid. I grew up outside of Detroit, so I played basketball my whole life. Like all the kids in the inner city would freestyle, and
that's your
it was just I came up in the hip hop kind of rap scene a little bit. I was never good, and I'm still not good.
I'd say you're pretty good now.
Man, thanks to my brother Nathan, I got to give him all the credit. Nathan, if you're listening, bro, thank you for guiding me. He wasn't actually always good too, but that kid has put thousands and thousands of hours into his craft.
The practice.
And it just happened to be that, right during the beginning of the pandemic, he needed a place to crash. So I let him crash in my basement. And he set up his studio down there. And, most nights I was telling him to quiet down because it would be midnight and he's, recording a song.
Something clicked and you were like, I got to actually join the
And then one night I was like, you know what, I'm just going to walk down there and see what this kid's up to, just get on his level. And, we're like best friends, me and him. But sometimes we can rub up against each other.
What's the age difference between you guys?
It's about 3 years, but he's the middle child and he's a Leo, and he knows how to get under people's skin.
2 fire. You're Aries. Yeah, 2 fires coming together. Nice.
But one day, I told Nathan, I planted the seed. I'm like, Nate, I want to make a song. Like, even if we don't release it, just like creatively, I want to like see if it's possible. Because I never considered myself to be musically gifted whatsoever. Like, singing is like the last thing I could do,
Yeah.
Literally on planet Earth.
And now you have tracks out on Spotify, so
nothing's possible,
guys.
So Nathan, I overheard him, and he had this beat going on, and he started singing this mantra that we've heard so much growing up as a kid, Loka Samasta
Sukhi no Bhavantu. Yeah.
And that mantra, if you're not familiar with it, means may all beings be happy and free. And, we heard this growing up and would use it in every meditation with my father, our whole lives. So it was just ingrained in us. So it made sense for that one to be the first mantra.
Yeah.
And Nathan, of course, having that swag that he has, started just putting on the beat, and he was like, Loka Samasta Sukhi no Bhavantu. Live life happy and free. And he kind of like, live life just how you wanna, eliminate the drama. And bro, he came up with that. Yeah. And I was like, just shook. I'm like, bro, this is something.
Right
like
now.
I saw it. So we stayed up till like 2 a.m. and finished the song.
This is all during the first part of COVID. So you guys had ample time
to
just
one night thing.
Together.
The song was done in 2 hours.
Oh, damn.
Started midnight.
This is real quick.
Yeah,
okay,
quick.
Got it.
And, I got my buddy to hop on the last verse, and we put it on Spotify literally within a week.
Yeah.
And it ended up getting 250,000 streams.
Wow.
The yoga community just kind of embraced it, because I don't think there's really been too much of a mix between hip hop with conscious, intention and lyrics.
Sanskrit mantras.
Yeah. It was just like another niche, like the photography and the yoga thing. So I was like, man, the support is unreal. People are hitting me up, playing in their classes, and their kids are jamming to it. So I'm like, I'm going to try another one. I don't want to be a one-hit wonder. So we did another one, and it was called Om Namah Shivaya.
Yeah. And
of course, Nathan, my ghostwriter.
Damn. Nathan, you got to make sure you get a percentage of these cuts.
Hey, and Nathan, he knows how to take a mantra and then tie another line to it where people actually remember it. So this next one was like, Om Namah Shivaya, in our hearts we find love. And it's that in our hearts we find love that makes it sticky. If it was just Om Namah Shivaya,
it doesn't hit as much. Yeah, I get it. It's different.
Yeah, Nathan's just really propelled me, and then it kind of snowballed, and, you know, I missed so many times. Like, I think after that song, I tried to make like 6 more songs, and all of them failed. So wasted. I mean, I wouldn't say wasted, but, you know, time, lots of money, you know, pay the producers, to make, and it just kind of went down the drain, and it's really hard because, you know, it's emotional. Like, it's like actually upsetting when something doesn't work out.
It's like your brainchild, right?
Yeah, it's just tough. So, but yeah, that's part of the process. And then I just have way more respect for these musicians like Drake and all these guys out there that are just hit after hit. You're like, how do they do it? Like, it's really not easy.
Well, you wonder what's going on behind the scenes, right? Like, how many tracks are they throwing away?
Oh my God.
You know, like a lot. If you're coming out with albums every year, there has to be double the amount of albums that have been tossed.
People don't realize how many are in, you know, just sitting.
Right. And it goes to show also, just like with meditation, like with photography, it's a practice. You know, it's like you're not going to, like you said, become the Buddha the first time around, right?
Maybe in this lifetime, you know, that might take 1,000 lifetimes to get to
maybe for that. Eckhart Tolle, like then you'll be good to go.
He's a special one.
Yeah, but. Yeah, so you have been on the journey with music now. You have how many tracks out?
5.
5 tracks out. Yeah. Are you have intentions of going further with it, like creating albums? Or are you sticking to EPs?
You know, life is just, it's interesting. We'll see where it takes us. I've never like made music with the sense, kind of like yoga. Like, I've never wanted to make a career out of it. You know, it's just something that you know,
you're living from the centered spot.
Yeah, I'm just sharing it, and I feel really blessed to be supported by it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's really a blessing to be supported by doing something that you love.
For sure.
So I never take that for granted. But with music, it's one of those things that I'm just going to kind of ride the wave. And, you know, when the wave crashes, you know, I'll just let it go.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing it, so I don't want to put too much pressure on myself.
Right.
Like, come out with an album by next year.
Yeah.
But
it's
if
more
an
like
idea comes to me, I'm going to run with it. And like the collaboration aspect, like with photographers, you know, I'm collaborating with different musicians. So, you know, coming
and
soon.
You're learning too. Yeah.
We got a fun track coming out.
Foreshadowing. Yeah. So, in the interest of time here, tell us where we can check you out for photography, where we can check you out for yoga, where we can check you out for music.
Cool. Yeah.
Right?
So
we're gonna get you decked out in some Kest apparel and some.
If you want to stay connected, you know, let's just connect on Instagram is a great way. It's where I'm, you know, most active. I'm always sharing, you know, stories and different flows and, you know, different tips and tricks here and there, and collaborating.
A lot to be learned.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
And you know, check out La Greca Ariel too.
Yeah, that's my passion
his
project.
His drone
right
photography page is just sweet.
400 followers and growing, but hey, the content's fire. Okay,
hey, bro, we don't do it for the numbers.
Yeah. We don't do it it's for the heart.
So yeah, Instagram, and then you know, if you want to practice with me online, I do a yoga on Zoom class every Sunday that's donation based, and I'm also on the Nike app, the Nike training app, NTC. It's all free, by the way. So that's a great resource, especially if you're a beginner. We got more classes on the way. Yoga teacher trainings, we're held in Costa Rica annually. More on that on my Instagram and website. And then what was the last thing?
Music.
Oh, and the music, Spotify, just my name, Jonah Kest. See if you vibe out with some tracks. I'd love to get your feedback.
Yeah, play him to the yoga. It'd be good to go. Yeah.
Do a Vinyasa flow to the new song Vinyasa.
Yeah. There you go. Out like 3 days ago.
Hey.
I really appreciate you coming on here, man.
Hey,
like,
bro.
I think that there's a lot of overlay in the things that I talk about on the channel, and being able to have like anybody who's viewing those videos see the embodiment of practicing yoga for an extended period of time and really practicing things that bring them to flow state, and the breath work that's behind all of the freediving, right? It's like it's cool, right? I didn't have this when I was younger and I was going through like my own self-development journey in the beginning. It's like all I had was YouTube, right? To see like, okay, how am I going to make it through this? How am I going to actually make myself better? So you're posing as like a wonderful inspiration.
Thank you.
And I'll add this one here too is when we were sitting in meditation this morning, and it was a little weird. Right before you started the meditation and speaking, and this was after like 25 minutes of us meditating at this point, I was like, I believe that you are one of my teachers, right? And it's like, we don't have to talk that often. I just, from witnessing how you show up in the world, it's like, I really do believe that you have things to teach me, and I'm there. So then you started speaking. Wow. You started speaking, and at first I'm like, I hate when people talk, like when I'm in my meditations. But like, this voice in me was like, the teacher is teaching. You know what I mean? And it was so weird.
Man,
yeah.
Chills, man.
So
yeah, I tried to, I didn't want to say anything. I had no intention of even speaking. But it just felt like we were getting to that edge, that place. And it felt like a nice way to close the space.
It was perfect.
But yeah, we had a lot of really sweet sounds, and I'm the same way. Silence is key.
Oh, yeah. Silence and stillness.
Man, those
space.
words, thank you so much. And likewise, I feel like I have a lot to learn from you in a lot of different aspects.
I appreciate it.
I've never actually had the persistence and follow through to start my own podcast, but to see you just out here collaborating and doing it yourself and sharing all your wisdom and with everyone is inspiring. So I hope people are just excited about this podcast as I am.
Hey, man, it's just, I'm doing the same thing as you're doing with freediving, photography, and all this stuff. It's just my own self-expression with the tools that I've used to have a higher quality of life and just not get caught up in all the anxieties and insecurities and the doubts.
Keep that dristy strong, man.
Keep that dristy strong.
Wow.
Hopefully we'll have you on here another time, but
yeah, we'll have to do a check-in or something. In a year from now, see where we're at.
Yeah, see how all of your things have improved, how many songs are out there, the free diving, and
what a cool opportunity to speak too on these things. And yeah, I mean, usually it's just yoga, so thanks for the opportunity, seriously. And I look forward to the next few days here at Casa Atma.
My pleasure. Yeah, I'm glad we have some time to chill. If you guys found this to be somewhat enlightening or provocative, you had some thoughts come up, feel free to start a conversation with us either in the comments down below or reach out to us on Instagram and have a little bit of a conversation, ask us some questions. And if you really enjoyed the content, a like or a subscription, of course, goes a long way. But don't do it unless you actually found the content valuable, right? We'll subscribe. And otherwise, we will see you in the next video.
Woo!
Join us for a Sunday Vinyasa or a Sunday centering and meditation event. How you doing?
Cacao!
Cacao! Much love, guys.
Thanks, bro.